Hello, I'm Liselle Sambury and welcome back to my channel. Today is my video about the best books I read in January. In the interest of having these monthly best book videos be fairly short and compact, which is what I want them to be, I am forcing myself to only talk about 3 books at a length. 3 books are the ones that I'm going to talk about at a length, but I will, at the end, I will do a list of honorable mentions, which are other books that I read during the month that I really enjoyed that I would recommend to other people and would recommend you read, because oftentimes I think during the month I have a lot of books that I really enjoyed, but I just want to focus in on chatting about 3, and then at the end I'll do my honorable mention list so that I can talk about some other books if you are wanting more recommendations. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book I'm going to talk about is Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a young adult, I would call it like a fantasy horror about a road that appears in this town once a year, and there's this urban legend figure called Lucy Gallows, and the idea is that if you go on the road that you can find her. And so 1 year ago, Sarah's sister went to go find Lucy Gallows and she disappeared and was presumed dead, but Sarah believes that she's still alive. And so this coming year, she decides that she's going to go on the road and she's going to try and find her, and she's joined by some of her friends. What else can I mention about this? This also does have a sapphic romance in it, if that is of interest to you. And what I love about this book is that it is really genuinely creepy. Like, it's hard in a book to make something genuinely creepy, but there are very creepy, very unsettling moments. The things that happen on the road are super spooky. There's also some stuff that, like, for me, like, to think about it conceptually and think about what that means, like, I found that really scary. The characters also all have these very interesting dynamics between each other because it's a friend group and they've kind of had this falling out as a result of Sarah's sister's disappearance, and now they are coming together to do this. And so they've had some time apart. There's different things happening. There's kind of secrets that people are keeping from each other that are getting exposed when they're on the road. And also the cool thing about this book is you're getting the perspective of certain characters in the future being interviewed about the experience of what happened on the road. And it includes different kind of like clips as well, because I think this has like a Blair Witch sort of comp, because the teens are also like filming their experiences as they're happening. And so you're also getting like video footage clips, you're getting like chat room, like group chat conversations. It's a really cool format. And that's why I listened to it on audiobook, and I ended up buying myself a physical copy so that I could reread it physically, so I could see the difference of like how it is written out. Also because like there's so many twists and turns in this book, and I wanted to be able to reread and go back and like see all the things that I had missed. It also is just like a really good mystery as well in this book that I really enjoy, and I just think this is so great, and I'm really excited to read more from Kate Alice Marshall. I know she has a book coming out, I believe it's this year. I'm pretty sure it's called These Fleeting Shadows, and it's like comp to The Haunting of Hill House. I'm really excited, and I'm also going to be working through their backlist because they have quite a few. I think they've got like 3 books that they published before this, so I'm really excited about reading all of those. And so yeah, Rules for Vanishing was amazing. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about are actually from the same author. I've been working through her backlist, and I've been so desperate to, like, as I've been reading more horror, to try and find a favorite horror author, and I have found her, and her name is Amy Lukavics. So you can check out my video over here, my favorite books of 2021, where I talked about reading Daughters Unto Devils by her, which I actually have a copy of over here. I got a UK paperback copy because it's absolutely gorgeous. But that's not the book I'm going to talk about. So 2 of her books I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to start with Nightingale. So Nightingale is a young adult horror. It's about 17-year-old June Hardy. She is living in, I believe it's the 1980s. Incorrect. It is 1951 where it's set. 1951. I will fact check that time period. But she's living essentially with her family, and they have expectations of her being a proper young lady and like getting married and like learning to become a housewife. And she has no interest in that. She wants to be a novelist. She's been working on this like creepy sci-fi novel that she's written. And she's really excited about that. But she's really had to hide that from her family because they're wanting her to become that sort of proper young lady. And the story begins with her being taken away to an asylum that her parents send her to because she's kind of, there's something that's happened and you don't really know what's happened yet, but she's taken away to this asylum. So the story is told partially from her perspective being in this asylum with these girls, and like things are really wrong there and something is really off, and she's trying to figure out what's happening and get home. And then you're also getting flashbacks to the past of that are kind of leading up to this big thing that happened before she was taken to the asylum. And the big thing about like what happens when she's taken there is she says that her parents have been replaced and they aren't her parents, and she basically freaks out. So Nightingale is like a wild ride. What I love about Amy Lukovic's books is that they are so unhinged in the absolute best way. Like they're really off the wall. And so yeah, they're just really like, they take you in places that you would never expect. Like it's completely unexpected. It's very original. And that's what I really love about her books. Nightingale is great because it's got these interesting like mysteries about what's happening in the asylum and like what happened to her in the past. And she's also writing, you're getting to see snippets of her story. And it's this really graphic, like alien abduction book, which is also really creepy because it's like, why is that your interest? And she's also having like some kind of out of this world things that are happening in the asylum as well. And so you're kind of grappling with her struggling to escape this place, but it's also a struggle because she's escaping essentially to the life that she had before, which was not particularly great. June as a character is really interesting. She's definitely very curious. She's definitely very strange. And the way that this book ends just blew my mind. So it's really, it's something. It's really, really something. So be prepared for that. And this book also has a sapphic relationship in it as well, between the main character and a girl that she meets at the asylum. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. Very highly recommend. And the final favorite that I want to talk about, again, another Amy Lukovic's book, and that is The Ravenous. So it's interesting. There's actually some true crime folded into this as well, but I'll talk about that later. So this is another young adult horror. It's about a family of 5 girls and their mother. So their dad works in the military, and so he's always away. And so these girls are living together, but their mom has a lot of mental health issues, and there's like a neglect issue there. And so the girls have kind of had to take care of themselves, but their older sister is very domineering and abusive. And the main character that you're following, she used to be like best friends with one of the sisters, but she's had a falling out, and all of this kind of powder kegs into the youngest sister dying. Let's say it that way, dying, because I don't want to spoil too much. But then she's brought back to life, which the sisters are really unnerved by, to say the least. And things get even more unnerving when it's discovered that the youngest sister needs to eat human flesh to continue to be herself and live normally as she is. And the sisters decide to take it upon themselves to keep their sister alive, if you know what that means. So yeah, it's really interesting. I love it because it's got such a complicated family dynamic, because there are so many members of the family, because their father is not really in their lives the way they'd like him to be. They're also living on a military base. I think it gets into a lot of different things about that. There's also a certain element of wanting to keep things in the family, so they're also trying to hide how their mother is because they don't want to be taken away by child services. They don't want to be separated. And each of them is kind of having things that they wanted to do with their lives, but they feel very burdened by their family and having to stay together. And they end up kind of having things come out in this very stressful situation that they're put into, where they all love their younger sister and they're trying to take care of her, but she's eating human flesh. So I think it's a really interesting twist on like that sort of zombie trope, because she's very much within her faculties. Like, she's talking and she's being herself. But then there's this element of like having to eat people. It's got really gruesome elements. It is very gory. I would say like all of Amy Lukovic's books are like pretty gory, which I really like as a horror fan, and so that's why I really enjoy those books. But she's also got such amazing character dynamics that are always happening. They're very complicated. They always feel really nuanced as well, and this also has kind of a true crime element. There's a real like true crime case that's kind of ended up being embedded in this story, which I thought was really cool, because I just thought it was made up for the story, and then I happened to be watching a true crime special, and then that case had come up and I was like, oh, this is a real case. So that was really interesting as well. So yeah, I highly recommend if you are a horror fan. I'm really excited. I have one more Amy Lukovic's book to read. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head though, and I will have all of these linked below, but I'm excited to get to it. Definitely, without a doubt, my favorite horror author. Next up is the honorable mentions. These are other books that I really loved and enjoyed reading in January. I'm just going to really quickly say the title, author name, and something quick that I enjoyed about it, and I'll have them all linked below if you want to learn more about them. So the first is Twice as Perfect by Louisa Onome. This one comes out in July of this year. I read it early for blurbing purposes. I think this is such a wonderful, realistic, and authentic feeling portrayal of being a child of immigrants that also really like takes a good, like, it's so funny. Like, I had so many moments where I laughed, and I think that was wonderful. And that is a young adult contemporary standalone. The Red Palace by June Her, which is a young adult historical mystery. I guessed wrong. I guessed wrong. I love June's mysteries. I'm always guessing wrong. It's got such great atmosphere and characters, and I really loved learning about the historical background of things that happened here. The next is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. This is an adult thriller. Also, like, this is what I love in my mysteries and their thrillers. I was guessing constantly. I had such a fun time trying to figure out what was going to happen. It has unreliable narrators as well, which I really, really love. And you're getting two perspectives, his and hers. And then finally, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I'm trying to read more middle grade, and so this was just like such an amazing place to start. I really thought Amari was such a fantastic character. I loved the blend of magic and sci-fi, and it was just like such a fun read, and I'm excited for the sequel. And that's it for the best books that I read in January. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And I would love to hear, what are your favorite things that you read in January? Please comment down below so that we can give recommendations to each other. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!